You see, the world often tells us that kindness is a virtue, and it is indeed a powerful force. But what if I told you that kindness in its unguarded form can actually ruin you? Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying kindness itself is bad. What I am saying is that there's a fine line, a boundary, a responsibility that must accompany kindness. Too much of it, unbalanced, can take you down a path that you never intended to walk. Kindness can ruin you when you use it to gain approval from others, when you lose your sense of identity, when you're constantly bending to everyone's will, trying to make them happy at the expense of your own peace. It will destroy you when you give without wisdom, when your kindness is a tool of manipulation, when you're sacrificing your own needs for people who do not value your sacrifice. You've got to be careful, because there are individuals out there who will take your kindness and turn it into their weapon. We live in a world that thrives on selfishness and self-interest. The moment you stop looking out for yourself, the moment you allow people to take advantage of your goodness, you begin to lose yourself. You become a slave to the approval of others, constantly seeking validation through the act of kindness. You think that by pleasing others you'll find fulfillment, but in reality, you're only drowning in your own exhaustion, in the weight of unmet expectations. But the truth is, this kindness should never come at the expense of your worth. True kindness, the kind that transforms lives, begins with self-respect. It starts with understanding your value, knowing when to give and when to hold back. It comes from a place of strength, not weakness. Real kindness isn't about saying yes to everything and everyone. It's about saying no when necessary and respecting your own boundaries. Let's talk about the price of unguarded kindness. Some of you are giving away your time, your energy, your resources to people who never intend to return the favor. You're pouring into relationships that are draining you dry. That kind of kindness will ruin your soul. It will destroy your spirit because you are pouring from an empty cup, hoping that someone else will refill it, but no one will. It's essential to recognize that you can't love others until you've learned to love yourself. You can't pour into others unless your own well is full. Kindness without boundaries turns into a form of self-neglect. It becomes a cycle of giving to people who will never appreciate it, leaving you vulnerable, fragile, and empty inside. And eventually the weight of that unbalanced kindness will pull you down, breaking your spirit, your joy, and your peace. You have to understand that being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. Kindness isn't about pleasing everyone. It's about doing what's right. Sometimes kindness means telling people the truth, even when it hurts. It means standing firm in your own values, even if it means disappointing others. You must never lose sight of who you are, and that is the true essence of kindness, knowing when to give, when to hold back, and when to protect your own peace. When you're kind in the right way, it will never ruin you. It will elevate you. But when you are kind with no sense of self-awareness, no sense of your value, it will break you. Guard your kindness with wisdom, for it is a precious gift that should be given with intention and purpose. Let your kindness flow from a heart that knows its worth and understands its boundaries. Only then will it empower you and those around you. Kindness, when not applied with wisdom, can be misused, and that's one of the most dangerous aspects of it. Too often we think that kindness is universally good, and indeed it is a powerful tool. But the reality is, there are people in the world who do not value kindness the way you do. They see your good intentions as an opportunity to manipulate, control, or even exploit you. You may have experienced this where you've given your time, your resources, and your love only to be met with disrespect, ingratitude, or even betrayal. This is where the danger lies. You might think that your kindness will be reciprocated, that by being good to others, you'll receive goodness in return. But that's not always the case. Some people, instead of appreciating your kindness, will take advantage of it, using it for their own benefit without any thought of reciprocation. They will see you as a source of endless generosity and use your kindness as a tool to get what they want, while leaving you feeling drained and unappreciated. You've got to understand this truth. People will take whatever you offer. If you give too much, they will take too much, and they will give nothing back in return. This is why kindness in its unguarded form can be dangerous. It's like opening the floodgates of your soul without setting any boundaries. People who take advantage of kindness may not be doing it maliciously. They may just be unaware or indifferent to the damage they're causing. But regardless of the intent, the outcome is the same. You end up depleted with nothing left to give, and the relationship is left unbalanced. When your kindness is not respected or reciprocated, it erodes your sense of worth. You begin to feel like you're not enough, like your best efforts don't matter, and in the worst cases, you may feel as though your kindness was never truly valued. The emotional toll of this can be enormous. You can lose trust in others, and more dangerously, you can begin to lose trust in yourself. It creates a cycle where you keep giving, hoping for change, but nothing ever shifts. And all the while, you're unknowingly walking down a path that could ruin your mental and emotional health. This is why it's crucial to understand that kindness must be guarded by wisdom. You must learn to recognize when people are simply taking advantage of your generosity, and you must learn to set healthy boundaries. Kindness should never be a reason for someone to take from you endlessly without giving back. It should not be a tool for manipulation or control. True kindness respects both yourself and others, and that means knowing when to give and knowing when to protect yourself from being exploited. When kindness is misused, it has the potential to break your spirit, and that's why we must be cautious and intentional about how, when, and where we give. Kindness can also ruin you when it becomes a means of seeking approval from others. This is where the lines between genuine kindness and people-pleasing start to blur. You see, many of us have been conditioned to believe that in order to be loved, accepted, or valued, we need to constantly put others' needs before our own. We start to tie our worth to how much we can do for others, and we begin to think that by being kind, we'll finally receive the validation and appreciation we crave. But here's the truth. This kind of kindness is not truly coming from a place of strength. It's coming from a place of insecurity and desperation. When kindness is used as a way to gain approval, you stop acting from your true self. Instead, you begin to act out of fear that if you don't do enough, say enough, or give enough, people will abandon you. You become so focused on making others happy that you lose sight of your own needs and desires. And here's the danger in that when kindness is motivated by the need for approval, it will never be enough. No matter how much you give, no matter how much you sacrifice, it will never be enough to fill the void that exists within you. The approval you seek will always be fleeting. You will constantly be chasing it, and you will never fully attain it. This approval-seeking behavior often leads to feelings of resentment and frustration. You give and give, but you feel empty because you're not being recognized for the effort you put in. You become emotionally drained because you're always giving without any true sense of fulfillment or return. The people you're trying to please may never even notice or appreciate the sacrifices you make for them. And even if they do, it's often not enough to heal the emotional wounds caused by constantly seeking validation from outside sources. What's worse is that when you tie your worth to others' approval, you begin to lose yourself. Your identity becomes shaped by what others think of you rather than by who you truly are. You might find yourself agreeing to things you don't want to do simply because you're afraid of being rejected. You might suppress your own desires, thoughts, and feelings because you want to fit in or avoid conflict. This isn't kindness, it's self-sabotage. You're giving up your authenticity to maintain a false sense of belonging, and in the process, you lose your personal power. When kindness is done with the expectation of receiving approval in return, it creates an unhealthy cycle. You're not acting out of pure generosity, but out of a need to be seen, to be recognized, to feel important. This is a dangerous place to be because it keeps you in a state of emotional dependence on others. You become emotionally entangled with the opinions and judgments of those around you, and your happiness and sense of worth are no longer under your control. You have handed that power over to others, allowing them to dictate your value. True kindness, the kind that lifts both you and others, doesn't come with strings attached. It is not about earning someone's love or approval. It is about giving because it is right, because it is part of your nature, not because you need something in return. It's about acting from a place of strength, not weakness. Kindness should never be a tool for approval. It should be a reflection of who you are at your core. And until you realize that your worth is not based on how much you give or how much others praise you for it, you will continue to struggle with an endless, exhausting pursuit of validation that will ultimately leave you unfulfilled and emotionally spent. Kindness can ruin you when it turns into self-sacrifice without any regard for your own needs. Many of us have been taught that true kindness is about giving everything we have to others, our time, our energy, our resources, without ever considering the cost to ourselves. We think that the more we give, the more virtuous we are. But the truth is that this kind of self-sacrifice can be toxic, and it can slowly destroy you from the inside out. When kindness turns into an act of constant self-sacrifice, you begin to lose sight of your own well-being. You give and give, pouring yourself into relationships, projects, and people without stopping to ask, what do I need? Or am I being replenished? You're constantly focused on fulfilling the needs of others, but in the process, you're neglecting your own needs. This is where the danger lies. You're giving from an empty cup, and eventually there's nothing left to give. And what happens when you have nothing left to give? You burn out. You become emotionally drained, physically exhausted, and mentally overwhelmed. It's easy to fall into the trap of self-sacrifice because as a society, we often view giving as a measure of moral worth. We see people who give endlessly to others and praise them for their selflessness. But when you sacrifice your own needs consistently, you begin to develop a sense of resentment. Even if you're not consciously aware of it, you may start to feel taken for granted, like your contributions are never enough. You feel unseen, as though your effort is invisible, and over time, this builds up a deep sense of frustration. Self-sacrifice without consideration for yourself also leaves you vulnerable to being manipulated. Some people will see your willingness to give endlessly and will take advantage of it. They'll know that you'll always say yes, that you'll always step in, that you'll always be there to help, even if it costs you your own happiness. And because you've tied your worth to your ability to give, you may feel guilty or selfish for saying no, even when it's necessary for your own health. But the problem is, when you're constantly sacrificing your own well-being, you're setting yourself up for burnout and eventual emotional collapse. At some point, the impact of this unbalanced kindness hits home. You may feel disconnected from yourself, like you've lost your sense of identity because you've spent so much time trying to be what others need you to be. The kindness that once felt good now feels draining. You may feel overwhelmed by the weight of others' expectations, by the constant pressure to be there for everyone else while neglecting your own emotional and physical needs. You may start asking yourself, why does no one ever seem to notice or appreciate all that I'm doing? And that question becomes the seed of bitterness, the feeling that you've been taken advantage of, that your kindness has been exploited. The key to understanding the danger of self-sacrifice in kindness is recognizing that you cannot pour into others from an empty well. If you're constantly giving without replenishing yourself, you're eventually going to burn out. You'll be left with nothing, and that's when the damage becomes real. You'll feel depleted, disconnected, and emotionally drained, and you'll be stuck in a cycle of giving without receiving anything in return, at least not in a way that nourishes your spirit or your soul. The problem with giving kindness without boundaries is that it removes any sense of control from you. People who lack boundaries often feel like they have to say yes to every request, to accommodate every need, to be available to everyone at any time. They give without question, without hesitation, and in doing so, they fail to protect their own needs, their time, and their energy. They become like an open well, always available to be drawn from, but never refilled. Over time, this leads to burnout because there's no space left for them to replenish what has been taken. It's important to understand that true kindness isn't about saying yes to every demand. It's about offering yourself in a way that is respectful, loving, and wise. Without boundaries, kindness becomes an open-ended offering, and that's where it becomes unhealthy. People will see that you don't know how to say no, that you're always available, and they will take advantage of that. They won't even necessarily be doing it maliciously. They may just be unaware of the toll their requests are taking on you. But the damage is still the same. You're left empty, exhausted, and emotionally spent. In relationships, when you give kindness without boundaries, you're also teaching others how to treat you. You're showing them that you'll always put their needs ahead of yours and that you'll always be there to serve. This can create an unhealthy dynamic where others come to expect your constant availability and willingness to help, while you continue to sacrifice your own well-being. And because you never set a limit on your kindness, they may never realize when they're crossing a line or asking too much. Over time, you begin to feel like you're giving all of yourself away, but getting nothing back in return. The truth is, you cannot pour into others from an empty cup. If you're always giving without considering your own needs, you will eventually have nothing left to give. And when you're drained and exhausted, your kindness stops being a blessing, it becomes a burden. You start to give out of obligation, not out of love or a true desire to help. This is when your kindness loses its power. It no longer nourishes you or those around you, it only drains you. Boundaries are crucial to healthy kindness. Without boundaries, you are simply opening yourself up to be drained by others' needs without considering your own. And when you fail to take care of yourself, when you fail to honor your own limits, you will reach a breaking point. Your energy will be depleted, your heart will be heavy, and your soul will feel worn down. You will be left wondering why your kindness no longer brings joy or fulfillment. The reason is simple: without boundaries, kindness becomes self-destructive. It no longer serves its true purpose, it serves only to diminish you. Setting boundaries isn't about being selfish, it's about being wise and loving enough to protect your own well-being while still offering kindness to others. It's about recognizing that your time, your energy, and your love are precious, and that you must care for yourself in order to have something to give. When kindness is given with healthy boundaries, it becomes a source of strength and joy for both you and those you serve. It is no longer a tool for exploitation. It is a gift that nourishes everyone involved. Kindness can ruin you when it is used as a means of avoiding conflict. Many people believe that being kind means keeping the peace at all costs, even if that means swallowing their own emotions, desires, or truths. The idea of conflict, of saying something that might hurt someone's feelings or cause tension, becomes so frightening that people will choose to suppress their own needs in order to avoid confrontation. They believe that kindness is the act of always being agreeable, always saying the right thing, always doing what others expect, and never rocking the boat. But in doing so, they ignore a crucial part of their own well-being, the right to speak their truth and set boundaries. When kindness becomes a tool to avoid conflict, it's no longer a genuine act of love or care. Instead, it's a way of hiding from the reality of life. Conflict, though uncomfortable, is a natural part of relationships, growth, and progress. It's through conflict that we challenge ideas, address misalignments, and evolve. But when kindness is used to avoid conflict, it creates a false sense of peace, a facade that shields people from the truth and from dealing with important issues. You start to bury your feelings, suppress your voice, and allow situations to go unaddressed, all for the sake of maintaining a peaceful exterior. However, this facade eventually collapses because unresolved issues build up inside and create tension, frustration, and resentment. Over time, this type of kindness, one that avoids conflict, leads to the erosion of personal integrity. When you don't speak up for yourself, when you don't assert your needs or express your true feelings, you begin to lose sight of who you really are. You start to define yourself by what others want or need from you, rather than by your own authentic values and desires. The more you suppress your own feelings and opinions, the more you lose your sense of self. Your voice becomes muffled, and your identity becomes shaped by others' expectations rather than your own inner truth. The kindness you offer others is no longer a reflection of your true heart, but a performance designed to avoid conflict and maintain peace at any cost. But here's the most damaging thing about this: when you avoid conflict in the name of kindness, you're not protecting anyone, not even yourself. You're simply postponing the inevitable. The truth has a way of surfacing, whether you acknowledge it now or later. When the issues you're avoiding finally come to light, they often surface with more intensity and damage than they would have if you had dealt with them head on. The energy that goes into suppressing your emotions or desires is exhausting, and eventually it manifests in physical and emotional exhaustion. Your body and mind can only carry so much unaddressed tension before they start to break down. Moreover, when kindness is used as a shield to avoid conflict, it also stunts your personal growth and development. Conflict, when handled constructively, can lead to greater understanding, stronger relationships, and personal maturity. But when you avoid conflict, you miss out on the opportunities to address and resolve the underlying issues that affect you. You also rob others of the opportunity to understand you more deeply. Without conflict, relationships remain shallow and growth becomes stunted. You're not challenging others or allowing them to challenge you, and as a result, you remain stagnant. The act of constantly avoiding conflict for the sake of kindness also keeps you trapped in unhealthy patterns. It may cause you to ignore red flags in relationship situations or environments that are not serving you. Because you are so focused on keeping the peace, you stay in toxic environments or relationships longer than you should, convincing yourself that kindness will somehow solve the problem. But in reality, your avoidance is only perpetuating the very issues you're trying to avoid. You continue to suffer in silence, hoping that if you're just kind enough, if you give enough, the situation will resolve itself. But the truth is, peace cannot come from avoidance. True peace comes from confronting problems with honesty, courage, and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths. When you make kindness synonymous with avoiding conflict, you start to compromise your emotional well-being and integrity. You become a passive participant in your own life, allowing others to shape your experiences because you're too afraid to speak up for yourself. You're too afraid of rejection, of disagreement, of discomfort. And what happens when you live like this is that you build up layers of unspoken pain, frustration, and resentment. The very kindness you offer becomes a burden on your soul, and you begin to resent the very people you were trying to protect. Real kindness isn't about hiding from difficult conversations. It's about facing the truth with courage and compassion. It's about recognizing that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is have the hard conversation, even if it causes temporary discomfort. True kindness is about respecting both yourself and others enough to speak your truth, to confront issues that need to be addressed, and to set boundaries that protect your well-being. By avoiding conflict in the name of kindness, you're not helping anyone, you're only delaying the inevitable and ultimately causing more harm to yourself and your relationships. Kindness can ruin you when it's driven by the need for validation. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that kindness is a way to be recognized, to be seen as a good person, to be loved and appreciated by others. We perform acts of kindness not because we genuinely care, but because we are seeking something in return, whether it's gratitude, praise, or even just a feeling of being accepted. We want to feel valued, and so we use kindness as a tool to secure that sense of worth. The problem with this kind of kindness is that it is not selfless, it is transactional. It comes with an expectation attached to it. And when the validation we seek is not received, it can lead to feelings of disappointment, bitterness, and a sense of emptiness. When kindness is motivated by the need for validation, it often leads to a constant cycle of giving and waiting. We give, but we are not giving freely. We are giving with the expectation that our efforts will be acknowledged, that people will see how kind we are, and that this recognition will affirm our value. But when that recognition doesn't come, we feel betrayed or neglected. We wonder why our kindness hasn't been appreciated, why our efforts haven't been returned in the way we expected. And this is where the problem begins. We lose sight of the true purpose of kindness, which is to give without expecting anything in return. When kindness becomes a tool for validation, it stops being a gift, it becomes a transaction. This constant need for validation through kindness also leads to emotional manipulation. When we are giving with the hope of receiving something back, whether it's approval, affection, or admiration, we suddenly start to manipulate others into acknowledging us. We might go out of our way to help someone, but in the back of our minds, we're hoping for a compliment, a thank you, or a sign of appreciation that lets us know we are valued. And when that doesn't come, it feels like a personal failure. This kind of kindness, driven by the need for validation, is exhausting because it's never about the person we're helping, it's about ourselves. We end up in a cycle of giving, not for the sake of others, but in the hopes of filling an empty void within us. The dangerous part of this is that when our kindness is constantly tied to our need for validation, we start to lose touch with our own worth. We begin to believe that our value is contingent on the recognition and approval we receive from others. We feel like we are only as valuable as the kindness we give and how it's received. This sets us up for a pattern of seeking external validation, and when that validation is withheld, our self-esteem begins to crumble. We may feel like we are not enough, like our kindness is not enough, and that we are unworthy of love or respect unless we are constantly giving and pleasing others. This can lead to a deep sense of insecurity and an inability to feel truly at peace with ourselves. It also keeps us stuck in toxic relationships and situations. When we give kindness as a way to seek validation, we might ignore red flags, tolerate disrespect, or allow ourselves to be mistreated because we fear that if we stop being kind, we won't be loved or appreciated. We might stay in unhealthy relationships, trying to prove our worth by constantly giving to others, even when they are not reciprocating or treating us with the same respect. This need for validation through kindness can make us blind to our own needs and desires, and we end up in relationships that drain us emotionally and physically. We put others' needs ahead of our own, hoping that in doing so, we will finally receive the recognition, love, or admiration that we crave. Another critical issue with seeking validation through kindness is that it can lead to resentment. When we give and give but don't receive the validation we expect, we start to feel unappreciated and overlooked. We feel like we're always the one giving, always the one helping, but no one seems to notice or care. And this breeds resentment. We begin to harbor negative feelings toward the people we're helping because in our minds, they are not giving us what we deserve. Instead of feeling good about the kindness we've offered, we start to feel taken advantage of. The truth is, the resentment doesn't come from the people we're giving to. It comes from our own unmet need for validation. We're disappointed because we expected something in return, and when we didn't get it, we turned our kindness into a source of frustration. True kindness is rooted in selflessness. It comes from a place of love, compassion, and a genuine desire to help without needing anything in return. But when kindness is driven by the need for validation, it becomes hollow. It becomes about proving something to ourselves or others rather than about making a positive impact. When we give to gain approval, we are not truly offering our best selves. We are offering a version of ourselves that is desperately seeking recognition. This is not sustainable. It leads to emotional exhaustion and burnout. We start to lose sight of the true meaning of kindness, and instead it becomes a performance, a way to win affection, attention, and approval. When kindness is no longer a tool for personal validation, but is instead a genuine reflection of love and compassion, it can transform relationships and lives. But when driven by the need for external validation, it ultimately destroys the very essence of what kindness is meant to be. Kindness can ruin you when you use it as a means to avoid the pain of rejection or disappointment. Many people offer kindness not because it is a natural reflection of their inner character, but because they are afraid of being rejected, hurt, or abandoned. And in their minds, if they give kindness to others, whether through words, actions, or even self-sacrifice, they will earn love, acceptance, and respect. They believe that by always being kind, they can prevent the heartache of being turned away or let down. They make kindness their shield, their way of staying safe from the emotional wounds that can come with relationships, situations, or even life struggles. However, the truth is that when kindness is driven by the fear of rejection, it becomes conditional and transactional. It is no longer an expression of genuine care, but a defense mechanism designed to secure acceptance and avoid emotional pain. People begin to use kindness as a strategy to prevent the fear of being left out, judged, or hurt. But in doing so, they tie their sense of self-worth to others' reactions and treat kindness as a bargain. The problem with this is that no matter how much kindness we give, we can never control the hearts of others. People may still reject us, disappoint us, or fail to give us the recognition or love we crave. When that happens, the very thing we were trying to avoid, the pain of rejection, becomes even more intense. This type of kindness, motivated by the fear of rejection, also leads to a loss of authenticity. When we are driven by a desire to avoid hurt, we begin to mold ourselves into what we believe others want us to be. We start to say yes when we really mean no, smile when we feel sad, and help when we feel drained, all because we are afraid of being judged, criticized, or abandoned. In doing so, we lose touch with our true selves. We stop being honest about our own emotions, needs, and boundaries because we believe that to be kind is to please others at all costs. This creates a deep internal conflict as we are suppressing our own truths in an attempt to maintain a facade of kindness, which leaves us feeling disconnected from ourselves. Furthermore, the constant need to avoid rejection through kindness leads to emotional exhaustion. Giving without the genuine desire to give, but rather to protect oneself from emotional harm, is draining. We end up pouring out energy and effort into situations and relationships that do not truly nurture or satisfy us, all in the hopes that our kindness will be reciprocated in the way we desire. But this is a flawed expectation. The people we are giving to may never fully appreciate or return the kindness, and instead of feeling fulfilled and content, we feel depleted and empty. We may begin to resent the very people we are trying to please as they become the source of our emotional frustration rather than the beneficiaries of our love and care. Another major issue with kindness rooted in the fear of rejection is that it enables unhealthy relationships and patterns. When you are motivated by a need to avoid rejection, you may stay in situations that are emotionally toxic just to prevent the pain of separation or conflict. You might ignore red flags in relationships because you are more concerned about not being alone or not being criticized than you are about protecting your well-being. This can lead to cycles of self-sacrifice where you give more than you can afford emotionally or physically and end up feeling like a doormat. You might become so concerned with being kind and helpful that you fail to assert boundaries, and in doing so, you allow others to take advantage of your generosity. This fear of rejection can also prevent you from standing up for yourself. When kindness is rooted in the need to avoid rejection, you may hesitate to speak up when your rights are being violated or when you are being treated unfairly. You may allow others to mistreat you or take advantage of you because you are more afraid of the emotional discomfort that might come from confrontation or standing firm in your truth. The irony here is that while you are trying to avoid the hurt of rejection or disappointment, you are only setting yourself up for deeper emotional wounds in the long run. Because when you don't stand up for yourself, you lose respect for your own worth. And when you continually allow others to treat you poorly in the name of kindness, it eventually erodes your self-esteem. What makes this even more damaging is that the more you use kindness as a shield to avoid rejection, the less authentic your relationships become. You may start to question whether people like you for who you truly are or whether they like you because of the persona you've created in an attempt to gain their approval. As a result, your relationships become superficial and you may find yourself feeling isolated even when surrounded by others. The fear of rejection becomes so consuming that you start to build walls around yourself, not allowing others to see your true self. This causes you to lose genuine connection with those around you because real connection requires vulnerability, honesty, and the willingness to be seen for who you truly are, imperfections, flaws, and all. The worst consequence of this type of kindness, driven by the fear of rejection, is that it reinforces a cycle of emotional self-neglect. When your primary motivation for being kind is to avoid rejection, you are constantly putting others' needs and approval above your own. You give and give, but you never allow yourself the permission to receive or to take care of your own needs. You ignore your emotional health, your self-care, and your boundaries, all because you are afraid that if you do not give enough, others will reject you. But this leads to burnout. You become depleted, frustrated, and resentful, all while still trying to maintain the illusion that you are fine, that your kindness is enough to make up for the emptiness you feel inside. Over time, this internal conflict takes a heavy toll on your mental, emotional, and even physical health. The truth is, rejection is a part of life. We cannot avoid it by being constantly kind or by trying to please everyone. No matter how much we give, there will always be situations where people will not appreciate us or where our efforts will not be reciprocated. And while rejection can be painful, it is also necessary for growth. When we accept the reality of rejection and stop using kindness as a way to shield ourselves from it, we free ourselves to be more authentic, to stand up for our needs, and to build healthier, more genuine relationships. The fear of rejection will no longer dictate how we show up in the world, and we can begin to give kindness from a place of strength, knowing that we are valuable and worthy regardless of how others respond. Kindness, when rooted in the fear of rejection, can cause you to lose sight of your own needs and desires. You begin to give and give, hoping that your acts of kindness will earn you the love, acceptance, or approval that you crave. The desire to be loved or accepted becomes so strong that you start to prioritize others' feelings over your own well-being. This leads you to neglect your own emotional health, mental peace, and even your physical boundaries, all in the name of kindness. Over time, this type of behavior creates a cycle where your kindness becomes the mask you wear to avoid confronting your deeper emotional needs. What often happens is that you give of yourself until there is nothing left to give. You become so consumed with taking care of others that you forget to take care of yourself. This leads to a severe imbalance in your life. Your resources, time, and energy are constantly being drained by others while your own needs go unmet. The people you are giving to might never recognize your sacrifices, or they may take advantage of your generosity, and in the end, you are left feeling unappreciated and drained. Instead of feeling fulfilled by your acts of kindness, you feel empty, exhausted, and even resentful. When your kindness is driven by the need for approval, you may find yourself constantly seeking validation from others. Every act of kindness becomes a transaction in your mind with the expectation that it will be reciprocated with praise, affection, or acknowledgement. But when those returns don't come, it leads to frustration. The approval you were hoping for is never guaranteed, and this expectation can set you up for disappointment. You begin to tie your self-worth to how others respond to your kindness, and when they fail to respond in the way you imagine, it leaves you feeling inadequate or unimportant. Your identity becomes wrapped up in the approval of others, and that approval becomes the measuring stick for your value. This constant need for external validation can also make you become someone you're not. You may start to suppress your own desires and emotions in order to align with what you believe others want from you. In a bid to maintain the image of being the kind one you put on a facade and deny your own truths, your own feelings, and your own needs, you tell yourself that you should always be the person who gives, even when you're struggling. You should always be the one who smiles and listens, even when you're in pain. This constant self-sacrifice, driven by a fear of rejection and a desire to be loved, ultimately leads to a loss of self-identity. You forget who you really are because you've spent so much time and energy trying to be what others want you to be. This pattern of giving to others while denying your own needs also results in a deep sense of loneliness. You may have many people around you, but the relationships are shallow because they are based on an unspoken, unbalanced transaction. You give without receiving, and as a result, the connection you share with others becomes hollow. You might begin to feel that no one truly knows you because the real you is hidden behind the mask of kindness. This emotional isolation becomes even more pronounced when others fail to notice or appreciate your efforts, leaving you with a sense of abandonment, even in a crowd of people. The tragic part of this cycle is that it is self-perpetuating. As your emotional needs continue to be neglected, you become more desperate for validation, and this desperation only leads to further self-sacrifice. You begin to feel that you are not worthy of love or respect unless you are constantly giving. You put everyone else's needs ahead of your own, and you lose the ability to set healthy boundaries. This imbalance is not sustainable, and sooner or later you will feel the weight of emotional burnout. You will have given so much of yourself that you no longer recognize who you are or what you need. The kindness that was once a beautiful and selfless act becomes an empty, draining force that contributes to your own emotional destruction. This loss of self-awareness can also lead to confusion about what true kindness really is. When kindness is driven by the need for approval, it becomes transactional. It is no longer about genuinely helping others, but about manipulating the situation to achieve a specific outcome. Kindness should be an authentic expression of care, not an attempt to earn affection or approval. When we give out of pure love and compassion without any expectation in return, we are able to maintain our integrity, our sense of self, and our emotional health. But when kindness becomes about avoiding rejection or seeking validation, it loses its true power. It becomes a tool for self-protection, a way to shield ourselves from the vulnerability of rejection, and in doing so, it becomes less about others and more about our own insecurities. Over time, this constant neglect of self for the sake of others will wear down your resilience. You will begin to feel more and more disconnected from your own desires, your own passions, and your own life goals. As you give in an effort to gain approval, you may find that you have no energy left to pursue your own dreams or take care of your own ambitions. You become caught in a perpetual cycle of trying to meet the needs of others while your own desires fade into the background. This leads to frustration, regret, and a sense of lost potential. The real danger of kindness driven by the need for approval and to avoid rejection is that it compromises your ability to be truly effective in helping others. When you give from an empty place, when you are trying to fill your own emotional void with the approval of others, you lose the ability to give in a meaningful way. True kindness is not about seeking something in return, but about extending genuine care and support without strings attached. When you are whole and balanced, you have more to offer others, and your kindness is more impactful because it comes from a place of inner strength rather than insecurity. However, when you give out of fear or the need for approval, your kindness becomes self-serving and its impact is limited. You may begin to resent the very people you are trying to help because your emotional needs remain unmet. When kindness is driven by guilt, it becomes a tool for self-punishment rather than an act of genuine love or care. Guilt is one of the most corrosive emotions that can motivate our actions. And when kindness is used as a way to alleviate that guilt, it distorts the very essence of what it means to give. You may feel that you owe someone something, that you have wronged them in some way, or that you need to compensate for past mistakes. This sense of obligation becomes the foundation of your kindness, and instead of it being an expression of love, it becomes a way to make amends for perceived wrongs. When you operate out of guilt, the kindness you extend is no longer freely given. Instead, it is a transaction in your mind, a way to absolve yourself of your sins, to clear your conscience, or to make up for something you think you've done wrong. You might say to yourself, I need to do this to make things right, or I must show kindness because I hurt them before. While it's natural to want to make amends and heal past wounds, when guilt drives your actions, it prevents you from giving in a pure, unselfish way. Guilt-based kindness is not motivated by genuine care for the other person. It is motivated by a need to alleviate your own discomfort or pain. The danger of this is that it keeps you trapped in a cycle of self-blame and regret. Every act of kindness becomes a way to prove to yourself that you are a good person, to reassure yourself that you are worthy of forgiveness, or to earn back the affection and respect that you feel you have lost. But no matter how much you give, it never truly heals the root cause of the guilt. Instead, it reinforces the idea that you must constantly prove yourself to others to feel worthy, and this can create an unhealthy dependency on external validation. The more you give out of guilt, the less you feel at peace with yourself, because your kindness is no longer a reflection of your true self, but an attempt to escape your own feelings of shame or regret. Guilt-driven kindness also often leads to resentment, both towards yourself and others. When you give to make up for something you feel guilty about, you are not giving freely or joyfully. You are giving because you feel you have no other choice. You are compelled to act, not because you want to, but because you feel that you must. And as time goes on, this forced generosity can breed resentment. You may begin to feel that others are taking advantage of your kindness, or that they don't appreciate the sacrifices you are making to ease your conscience. This resentment doesn't just harm your relationships with others, it also erodes your relationship with yourself. You start to question your motives and feel anger or frustration at your own inability to stop giving out of guilt. Even worse, when your kindness is motivated by guilt, it can make the people you are trying to help feel uncomfortable or burdened by your actions. People can sense when kindness is not authentic, and they can tell when someone is acting out of obligation rather than genuine compassion. Instead of feeling grateful for your kindness, they might feel like they owe you something in return, or they may even feel pity for you, as if they are the ones burdened by your need to make things right. This dynamic can create an unhealthy, one-sided relationship where both parties feel uneasy and neither gets the true benefit of kindness. The person receiving your guilt-based kindness may feel indebted to you, which can lead to a lack of true connection. And you, in turn, may feel that your kindness has been wasted because it hasn't resulted in the kind of positive response you were seeking. Another tragic outcome of guilt-driven kindness is that it prevents you from fully healing from past mistakes or hurt. By using kindness as a way to mask guilt, you are not addressing the deeper emotional wounds or unresolved feelings that need healing. True healing comes when we face our mistakes, take responsibility for them, and move forward with a sense of personal growth and accountability. But when guilt is the motivator, it pushes us into a cycle of atonement, never allowing us to move beyond the past. Instead of embracing forgiveness and finding peace, we remain stuck in a loop of trying to earn redemption through our actions without ever experiencing the release that comes from genuine self-forgiveness. Over time, guilt-driven kindness will not only deplete you emotionally, but will also distort your view of yourself and your worth. You may start to feel that your value is based solely on how much you can give to others, particularly when you're trying to make up for something. Your identity becomes intertwined with this need to prove yourself through actions, rather than understanding that your worth comes from who you are, not what you do. You may even lose sight of your own needs and desires in the process, because your kindness is no longer an expression of your authentic self, but a way to manage your internal struggles. In the long run, guilt-based kindness is unsustainable. You cannot continuously give from a place of guilt without exhausting yourself. It will drain your energy, your resources, and your emotional well-being. You will burn out, resent those you're trying to help, and feel unfulfilled despite your best efforts. Your kindness will no longer be a source of joy for either you or the recipient. It will become a burden, a weight that you carry around, always trying to make up for what you feel you owe or what you think you have done wrong. True kindness, on the other hand, is freely given, without strings attached, without the need for atonement or compensation. It comes from a place of inner peace and self-acceptance, not from a place of guilt. Only then can kindness be truly transformative, both for you and for the people you seek to help. Kindness, when it is viewed as a weakness, can indeed ruin you, and the reason for this is because it creates a misconception about the true nature of strength. In a world where success is often measured by assertiveness, control, and power, kindness can be perceived as a lack of those qualities. We live in a society that tends to celebrate the aggressive and the dominant, those who take charge and impose their will, while kindness is often seen as passive or even submissive. This societal perspective can lead to an internal conflict where the kind individual feels the need to suppress their natural inclination to be compassionate or understanding because they fear being seen as weak. When kindness is perceived as weakness, the kind individual can be taken advantage of. People may exploit their generosity, assuming that because they are kind, they will not stand up for themselves or set boundaries. This results in a pattern where the individual who is consistently kind is continuously drained, giving more than they receive. Over time, they might start to feel resentful and used, and this emotional exhaustion can lead to burnout. The assumption that kindness is weakness means that their intentions are often misunderstood, and their actions are sometimes viewed as opportunities for others to exploit. Moreover, kindness can often be undervalued or dismissed. When you are kind to others, you are extending something that is inherently valuable: love, care, understanding, empathy. Yet, in many situations, this kindness is not reciprocated, or it is overshadowed by the more dominant personalities that surround you. People may take your kindness for granted, expecting more from you without offering anything in return. The cycle of giving without receiving can cause the individual to feel unappreciated and unacknowledged, leading them to question the worth of their kindness. This ongoing dynamic can lead to a sense of isolation, where the person who is kind feels disconnected from others, as though their efforts are unnoticed or unimportant. Another danger is that kindness can also expose you to emotional manipulation. Those who view kindness as a weakness may seek to manipulate your compassion for their own benefit. They will try to convince you to do things that you don't want to do, or they may guilt trip you into continuing to give when you are already drained. Your kindness, instead of being a source of healing or connection, becomes a tool for others to take advantage of your good nature. Over time, this can lead to deep emotional wounds, as you feel your kindness has been weaponized against you and you are left questioning your own ability to trust others. Furthermore, when kindness is viewed as weakness, the individual might struggle with asserting themselves. They may suppress their own desires or needs in favor of always being there for others. They avoid confrontation and the discomfort that comes with setting boundaries. But in doing so, they slowly lose their own sense of self-worth. Instead of maintaining a healthy balance between caring for others and looking after themselves, they give and give, all the while neglecting their own well-being. This imbalance causes them to feel depleted and unfulfilled, like their identity is rooted in their ability to please others rather than in who they truly are. This pattern of constantly placing others' needs above your own because of the belief that kindness is weakness leads to a lack of self-respect. People begin to lose their ability to value themselves independently of the validation they receive from others. They may feel that their kindness is the only thing that gives them worth in the eyes of others, and because they do not assert their own needs, they end up with a fragile sense of self-esteem. Their sense of value becomes entirely dependent on how others perceive them, and this external validation is fleeting and unreliable. This dynamic not only contributes to emotional exhaustion, but also creates a situation where the individual begins to feel invisible or irrelevant, as if their value is only tied to their service to others. Kindness also becomes a mask that people wear to hide their vulnerabilities. Those who are kind to others may do so because it allows them to avoid confronting their own emotional struggles. They may use kindness as a shield, believing that if they show love and care for others, they can distract themselves from their own pain or insecurities. But this act of giving becomes a distraction from personal healing and growth. It may temporarily ease their feelings of inadequacy or loneliness, but it never addresses the underlying issues that need attention. Over time, this can leave them feeling even more lost as they fail to confront their own emotional wounds in the process of constantly giving to others. In the end, kindness perceived as weakness undermines the very purpose of kindness itself. True kindness at its core is not about sacrificing oneself or losing one's sense of identity. It is about being generous and loving without expecting anything in return, but it also involves having boundaries and knowing when to say no. When kindness is seen as weakness, it distorts the truth that kindness, when properly understood, is one of the most powerful forces in the world. It is the ability to be compassionate, to be understanding, and to give without fear of loss. However, when misinterpreted as a weakness, it can rob you of your power, leaving you feeling drained, resentful, and unappreciated. In conclusion, kindness, when misunderstood or misused, has the potential to drain us, diminish our sense of self-worth, and create an environment where we are taken advantage of. It is not the kindness itself that will ruin us, but the way in which we approach it, allowing it to be driven by guilt, fear, or the need for validation. True kindness comes from a place of strength, inner peace, and self-respect. It is not about self-sacrifice or pleasing others at the expense of our own well-being. When we embrace kindness as a tool for building genuine connections and uplifting others while maintaining healthy boundaries, we empower ourselves and those around us. Let us not fall into the trap of believing that kindness is a weakness, for it is, in fact, one of the greatest strengths we can possess. It's time to redefine kindness not as a form of submission, but as an expression of power, wisdom, and love that will enrich not only our lives, but the lives of everyone we encounter. There are moments in life when solitude feels like a burden. You may find yourself questioning why you are alone, why relationships have fallen apart, or why certain doors seem closed. But what if I told you that your solitude is not a punishment, it's a preparation? God, in His infinite wisdom, often removes distractions to position you for purpose. When you are alone, you begin to hear the voice of God more clearly. You start to recognize His guidance without interference from outside noise. Isolation is where transformation takes root. It's where He strips away the things that no longer serve you, the relationships that hinder your growth, and the habits that keep you stuck. Sometimes God removes people from your life not because they were bad, but because their role in your journey has ended. They cannot go where God is taking you. He is preparing you for something greater, something that requires a deeper level of focus and commitment. And often, that preparation can only happen when you're alone. Being alone is where God builds strength in you. It's where He tests your character and refines your heart. In the silence, you discover who you truly are. and what you are capable of becoming. You learn to rely on him fully, to trust in his plan even when you don't understand it. In your solitude, God is cultivating a new vision within you. He is birthing dreams and ideas that could not flourish in a crowded space. This is the season where he teaches you to walk by faith, not by sight. When you emerge, you will not be the same person. You will be stronger, wiser, and ready to fulfill the purpose he has set before you. So, if you find yourself alone today, embrace it. This is not the end of your story. It's the foundation for a new beginning. God is not withholding blessings from you. He's preparing you to handle them. Trust in his timing, for he knows exactly what he is doing. Solitude is not the absence of God. It is where he does his greatest work in you. And being alone is not a punishment, but rather a profound preparation orchestrated by God. In moments of solitude, it may feel like everything is falling apart. But in reality, everything is falling into place. God uses these quiet seasons to mold and shape you for the purpose he has designed specifically for your life. When you're surrounded by noise, it's easy to lose focus. Distractions come in the form of people, activities, and even your own thoughts. But when God places you in solitude, he is removing these distractions so that he can work on you without interference. So, in this preparation, God begins to refine your character. He peels back the layers of who you thought you were, exposing who he created you to be. This process may feel uncomfortable because growth is rarely easy. It often requires letting go of what is familiar, even if it feels safe. But what God is preparing you for cannot fit within the confines of your current situation or mindset. He claims you in your current situation or mindset. He needs to stretch you, challenge you, and strengthen you so that you are ready to step into the next phase of your life. This preparation is also deeply personal. No one else can walk this journey for you. It's in solitude that God deals with the hidden parts of your heart, the insecurities, fears, and doubts that you may not even realize you carry. He brings these things to the surface, not to condemn you, but to heal and free you from them. It's a process of purification, where he strips away everything that doesn't align with the destiny he has for you. Through this preparation, God is also teaching you to trust him fully. When you're alone, you're forced to rely on his guidance rather than the opinions or validations of others. You learn to discern his voice and to follow it, even when it leads you into the unknown. This dependence on him becomes the foundation of your faith, giving you the strength and courage to face whatever lies ahead. God's preparation in solitude is intentional and purposeful. He is not wasting a single moment. Every lesson, every challenge, and every tear is part of the greater plan he has for your life. It's in these seasons of being alone that you are being equipped for the extraordinary things God has in store for you. So while it may feel like a lonely road, remember that it's a road designed specifically for you, leading to a destiny far greater than you can imagine. When you find yourself alone, you also find yourself in a position to hear God's voice more clearly. It is often in the stillness, when the noise of the world fades away, that you begin to recognize the gentle whispers of his guidance. In the busyness of life, it's easy to drown out this voice with the constant chatter of opinions, expectations, and distractions. But when you are alone, God can speak to you in ways that penetrate deeper than words. He begins to reveal things you may have overlooked, offering clarity that would have been impossible amidst the chaos. He allows you to distinguish what is great from what is great. This clarity is not just about hearing, it's about understanding. It's about discerning the difference between what you want and what God knows is best for you. Being alone creates the space for this discernment to grow. You start to recognize patterns, behaviors, and decisions that need to change. The solitude becomes a mirror, reflecting back to you the areas of your life that require realignment with God's purpose. It's a process of awakening where the truth becomes undeniable and the distractions that once clouded your judgment lose their power over you. In this silence, God also begins to align your heart with His will. When you are constantly surrounded by others, it's easy to be swayed by their desires, their plans, and their perspectives. But in solitude, God becomes your primary source of influence. His voice grows louder than the voices of doubt or fear, and you begin to see the path He has laid out for you with fresh eyes. This is not just a time of listening, but a time of learning. God uses these moments to teach you lessons that you might have missed otherwise, lessons about faith, patience, and trust. Hearing God clearly also transforms the way you see your circumstances. You begin to understand that what feels like a setback is often a setup for something greater. The clarity you gain in solitude allows you to see beyond the immediate struggles and recognize the bigger picture. It's as if God is sharpening your spiritual vision, helping you to perceive His hand in every detail of your life. Does this connect your brain with what God meant when He said, "Great"? In this space, the confusion that once overwhelmed you starts to dissipate, replaced by a profound sense of peace and direction. Solitude is where God separates His whispers from the world's noise. It's where His truth becomes your foundation and His guidance becomes your compass. This clarity is a gift. A reminder that even when you feel alone, you are never without His presence or His purpose. When God leads you into a season of solitude, it often feels like a stripping away of all that is familiar. People, relationships, opportunities, and even dreams that you once held dear may seem to fall away one by one. It can feel like loss, but in truth, it is divine alignment. God removes the things and people in your life that no longer serve His purpose for you. He does this not to hurt you, but to heal and prepare you for what lies ahead. Sometimes the very things you cling to are the things holding you back. There are relationships that drain your energy, habits that sabotage your growth, and environments that stifle your potential. These may not be bad in themselves, but they are no longer meant for where God is taking you. Imagine carrying unnecessary weight on a long journey. Eventually, it will slow you down and exhaust you. God, in His wisdom, sees this before you do, and in His love, He begins to strip away what is not essential to your destiny. The New Testament begins with this statement. This process can feel painful because we naturally resist change. We become attached to what is comfortable, even if it is no longer beneficial. But God's plan for you is far greater than your comfort zone. He is not content with letting you settle for less than His best. He sees the bigger picture, and He knows what needs to go so that you can grow. This is why He allows certain doors to close and certain people to walk away. It is not rejection, it is redirection. In solitude, you begin to understand that what feels like loss is actually a gain. By removing distractions, God creates space for new blessings to take root in your life. The relationships He removes are often replaced with divine connections. People who will uplift and support you in your purpose. The habits He helps you break are replaced with disciplines that align with His will. The habits He helps you break are replaced with disciplines that align with His will. The opportunities He allows to pass are replaced with ones that are far greater than anything you could have imagined. This is also a time of pruning. Much like a gardener prunes a tree to encourage its growth, The branches that no longer bear fruit are cut away so that the tree can thrive and produce more abundantly. In the same way, God is pruning your life. It may feel harsh in the moment, but it is an act of love and care. He is removing what is dead, dying, or detrimental to your future, allowing you to flourish in ways you never thought possible. When you look back on this season, you will see that every removal was a step toward your transformation. You will realize that God's plan is always better than your own. Trust in His process, even when it feels like everything is being taken away. What God removes, He replaces with something far greater. What God removes, He replaces with something far greater. What He takes, He restores in abundance. He's not leaving you empty. He's making room for you to be filled with His purpose, His blessings, and His glory. There are moments when certain people in your life seem to drift away, and it feels as though the relationships you valued are suddenly fading. This can be a confusing and painful experience, leaving you wondering what went wrong. But what if those departures are not accidents? What if God, in His infinite wisdom, is removing people from your life because their purpose in your journey has been fulfilled? Not everyone is meant to walk with you forever. Some people are seasonal, placed in your life for a specific time and task. When that time ends, they must leave for you to move forward. God knows that not everyone can handle the weight of your destiny. There are places He is taking you that require a different level of focus, commitment, and faith. Some people in your life may not share the vision God has given you. They may unintentionally hinder your progress, discourage your dreams, or distract you from your purpose. It doesn't make them bad people, but it does mean they are not equipped to walk the path God has set for you. When He removes them, it is not to punish you or them, but to protect the calling on your life. Sometimes the relationships God ends are ones you've outgrown. You may find that the conversations, habits, and dynamics that once felt normal no longer resonate with you. That's because God is transforming you from the inside out. He is elevating your thinking, refining your character, and preparing you for something greater. To stay attached to people who no longer align with where God is leading you would only hold you back. You cannot soar to new heights while clinging to relationships that keep you grounded. This process can feel lonely because it's natural to want to hold on to familiar connections. But God's separation is always intentional. He is not leaving you alone. He is setting you apart. There is a difference. Being set apart means you are being positioned for a unique purpose. God knows who belongs in your life for the next season, and He will bring the right people at the right time. Until then, trust that He knows what He is doing. The absence of certain people is not the absence of love or care. It's the presence of God's perfect plan unfolding in your life. And there's another layer to this. Sometimes God removes people not just for your sake, but for theirs. Your journey may no longer align with theirs, and keeping them close could interfere with the work God wants to do in their lives. Trust that His plan is not only for your good, but for theirs as well. What looks like loss is often the best outcome for everyone involved, even if it doesn't feel that way in the moment. In time, you will look back and see the wisdom in God's actions. The people He removed made space for those who are meant to elevate and support you. The relationships that ended paved the way for new ones that align with your calling. God is not taking away, He is making room. Trust Him when He says it's time to let go. The path He is leading you on requires your undivided attention and your full trust in Him. You may not understand it now, but one day you will see that every separation was part of His divine orchestration for your ultimate good. When you find yourself alone, you may feel as though you're losing everything that defined you. The roles you once played, the relationships you invested in, and the routines you followed may suddenly seem distant or irrelevant. But in this stillness, God is drawing your attention to something deeper, your identity in Him. He is reminding you that your worth is not tied to what you do, who you know, or what you possess. It is tied to who He created you to be. This season of solitude is His invitation for you to rediscover your true self. Deaf or bind it, deaf or bind it. Too often we define ourselves by external factors. We see ourselves through the lens of others' expectations, our accomplishments, or even our failures. But when God calls you into a place of solitude, He is stripping away those external definitions. He wants you to see yourself as He sees you, fearfully and wonderfully made, created for a unique purpose. In this quiet space, God speaks to your heart and begins to rebuild your identity on a foundation of truth. This is not an easy process because it requires you to confront the false identities you've carried. Perhaps you've seen yourself as unworthy because of past mistakes, or you've defined your value by your ability to meet others' needs. In solitude, God gently removes these lies and replaces them with His truth. He reminds you that you are loved, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. You are His child, chosen and cherished, and no circumstance can change that. As you begin to embrace this identity, you discover a new kind of freedom. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself to others or conform to their expectations. You realize that your value comes from God alone, and this realization empowers you to walk in confidence. You start to make decisions not out of fear or obligation, but out of alignment with the purpose God has placed in your heart. This newfound clarity allows you to let go of what no longer serves you and to step boldly into the life God has prepared for you. In this season, God is also teaching you to depend on Him completely. When everything familiar is stripped away, you are left with no choice but to turn to Him. This dependence is not a sign of weakness, but a foundation of strength. As you lean on God, you begin to experience His love, grace, and provision in ways you never have before. You come to understand that your identity is secure in Him, no matter what storms may come. Second, God uses solitude to rebuild you from the inside out. He takes the broken pieces of your identity and reshapes them into something beautiful and whole. This process may feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary for you to step into the fullness of who He created you to be. Trust the work He is doing in you during this time. He is not breaking you down to leave you empty. He is rebuilding you to make you strong, resilient, and unshakable in your identity as His beloved creation. In seasons of solitude, God invites you into a deeper relationship with Him. Without the noise and distractions of everyday life, your heart becomes more attuned to His voice. It is in this quietness that you begin to recognize His presence in ways you may have overlooked before. When the world around you seems to pause, God steps in to reveal Himself more clearly. This is not a time of abandonment. It is a time of divine connection where He draws you closer and speaks directly to your soul. Often we fill our lives with people, tasks, and responsibilities, leaving little room for genuine communion with God. These things, while not inherently wrong, can create barriers to intimacy with Him. By removing the external noise, God creates a sacred space for you to focus solely on Him. It is in this space that you begin to understand His heart for you, His plans for your life, and His unchanging nature. You come to realize that His presence is not something you must chase, but something you are always invited to rest in. This is the time when prayer takes on a new depth. Instead of rushed conversations with God, you find yourself lingering in His presence, seeking not just answers, but Him. You begin to share your heart openly, and in return, He reveals His. This exchange transforms your understanding of prayer. It is no longer a list of requests, but a dialogue of love and trust. In this communion, God often speaks the words your heart has longed to hear. The power, He reassures you, strengthens you, and reminds you that you are never truly alone. As you grow closer to Him, you also begin to see His hand at work in your life. You notice the small blessings, the moments of peace, and the ways He has protected and provided for you. Your faith deepens as you recognize that He is not distant, but intimately involved in every detail of your journey. This awareness fills you with a sense of gratitude and trust. Even in the midst of uncertainty, you start to understand that God's presence is not just a comfort, it is the source of your strength. This time alone with God also allows you to hear His guidance more clearly. When life is crowded with opinions and expectations, it can be hard to discern His voice. But in solitude, His direction becomes unmistakable. He begins to reveal His purpose for your life, showing you the steps you need to take and the paths you need to avoid. This clarity equips you to move forward with confidence, knowing that you are walking in alignment with His will. Through this deepened relationship, God also teaches you about His character. You come to know Him not just as a distant creator, but as a loving Father, a faithful provider, and a constant companion. You begin to see His love in everything, His discipline, His blessings, and even His timing. This understanding transforms your view of life. No longer do you see challenges as obstacles. Instead, you see them as opportunities to trust Him more. Yes, you begin to see challenges as obstacles. Instead, you see them as opportunities to trust Him more. No longer do you feel abandoned in hard times. Instead, you feel held by His unfailing grace. No, here. God uses this season to remind you that His presence is all you truly need. While relationships, achievements, and possessions can add to your life, they can never replace the fulfillment that comes from Him. This realization shifts your priorities. You start to seek Him first, knowing that everything else will fall into place when your heart is aligned with His. This time of solitude becomes a foundation for the rest of your life. A foundation built not on the shifting sands of the world, but on the unshakable rock of His presence. As you grow in intimacy with God, you also find that His presence brings a peace that surpasses understanding. It is a peace that quiets your fears, calms your anxieties, and fills your heart with hope. In His presence, you are reminded that no matter what you face, you are never alone. He is with you, guiding you, sustaining you, and loving you through it all. This is the gift of solitude, not loneliness, but a deeper, richer, more personal relationship with the One who created you. When you find yourself in a season of solitude, it may feel as though you've been placed in a holding pattern. But what God is doing is so much greater than what you can see. He is using this time to prepare you for the future He has designed for you. Preparation is often an unseen process, one that requires patience, trust, and faith in the unseen work of God. It is in these quiet moments of being alone that God is refining you, equipping you, and shaping you for what lies ahead. Preparation requires stripping away what does not serve the purpose God has for you. Sometimes we carry habits, mindsets, and even relationships that cannot go with us into the next season. God, in His wisdom, uses solitude to reveal these things to us. He highlights areas in our lives that need healing, growth, or transformation. He calls us to let go of the things that are weighing us down, even if it feels uncomfortable. This process of letting go is not about loss. It's about making room for what is to come. In this time, God also builds your character. He works on the parts of you that need strengthening, shaping you into the person who can handle the responsibilities and blessings he is preparing. Perhaps he is teaching you patience because what he has planned requires endurance. Maybe he is instilling humility so that when success comes, you remember to give him the glory. Or he might be growing your faith so that you can walk boldly into situations where the outcome is not yet clear. These lessons are not always easy, but they are necessary. Criticism are necessary. There's also a season of sharpening your skills. God gives each of us unique gifts and talents, but those gifts must be developed before they can be fully used. Solitude provides the perfect opportunity to invest in yourself. It might be a time to learn, to grow, to study, or to practice. Whatever he is calling you to, know that it is part of the preparation for the assignments he has ahead. The quiet moments spent refining your abilities are never wasted. They are setting the stage for the impact you are destined to make. In the process of preparation, God is also working on your perspective. He wants you to see things not as they are, but as they can be through his power. He is teaching you to trust his timing, to rely on his provision, and to believe in his promises. This shift in perspective allows you to move forward with confidence, even when the path ahead is unclear. You begin to see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth. You start to view delays not as denials, but as divine protection. Another aspect of preparation is building spiritual discipline. In this season, God often draws you deeper into his word and into prayer. He wants to root you so firmly in his truth that no storm can shake your faith. The habits you develop during this time, seeking him first, trusting his guidance, and relying on his strength, will become the foundation for the seasons ahead. These disciplines are not just for this moment, they are for a lifetime of walking in his purpose. God's preparation also involves pruning. He removes what is no longer fruitful so that new growth can occur. This pruning process can feel painful, as it often involves letting go of things you thought were essential. But just as a gardener prunes a tree to encourage healthier growth, God prunes your life to ensure you are ready to flourish. What may feel like a setback is actually a setup for greater things. His kingdom is a life of prayer. Trust that his cutting is not to harm, but to heal. Not to diminish, but to prepare you for a harvest. Finally, in solitude, God helps you clarify your purpose. When you are surrounded by noise, it can be difficult to hear his voice and discern his plans for you. But in the stillness, he speaks clearly. He reminds you of the dreams he has placed in your heart, the passions he has ignited within you, and the destiny he has called you to fulfill. This clarity becomes your compass, guiding you as you move forward into the future he has prepared. The preparation God is doing in this season may not always make sense. It may feel like a detour or delay, but trust that he is working all things together for your good. He is aligning circumstances, opening doors, and positioning you for opportunities that only he can create. What seems like isolation is actually an incubation period, a time when God is preparing you to emerge stronger, wiser, and ready to step into his plans for your life. Let him do the work, for he knows exactly what you need to fulfill the purpose he has set before you. In the moment of solitude, when it feels as though you are isolated from the world, God is at work refining your discernment. He removes the clutter of voices, opinions, and influences that can cloud your judgment. By quieting your surroundings, he sharpens your ability to distinguish between what is true and what is false, what is beneficial and what is detrimental, and what is aligned with his will versus what is a distraction. This process is not immediate. It unfolds as you learn to trust his guidance and tune in to his voice more clearly. Discernment is one of the most powerful tools God equips you with during these times. It is the ability to see beneath the surface, to understand the motivations behind actions, and to recognize the difference between opportunities that are from Him and those that are traps in disguise. In a world full of counterfeit promises, God wants you to develop the wisdom to identify what is authentic. He does not want you to settle for anything less than His best. And this requires a keen sense of discernment. God often uses solitude to show you the areas where your discernment needs growth. Perhaps there have been times when you relied on others' opinions more than His truth, or followed a path that looked good but was not meant for you. These experiences, though painful, become valuable lessons in learning to listen to His voice above all others. He begins to teach you that discernment is not just about making decisions, it's about aligning your heart with His. This sharpening of discernment also helps you recognize the people in your life who are meant to stay and those who need to go. When you are surrounded by many voices, it can be difficult to determine who truly has your best interests at heart. In solitude, God reveals the relationships that are genuine and those that are not. He teaches you to identify the difference between companions who encourage your growth and those who hinder your progress. This is not about judgment, but about protecting your purpose and surrounding yourself with individuals who align with the destiny He has for you. Zero out. Through this process, God also refines your ability to discern His timing. Many of us struggle with a desire to rush into action or make decisions based on impatience. But God's timing is perfect, and He uses seasons of waiting to teach you to trust in His schedule. Discernment involves recognizing that delays are not denials, and that waiting often brings greater rewards. So you learn to rely on His wisdom, understanding that His plans unfold at the right moment, not a second too early or too late. Another critical aspect of discernment is learning to recognize the enemy's tactics. The enemy often works in subtle ways, disguising lies as truth and distractions as opportunities. In the quiet moments of solitude, God equips you to see through these deceptions. He gives you the clarity to resist temptation and the strength to stand firm in your convictions. This spiritual awareness becomes a shield, protecting you from falling into traps that could derail your journey. As your discernment grows, you also begin to see how God is working in your life in ways you may have missed before. You notice His hand guiding you, His provision sustaining you, and His protection surrounding you. This heightened awareness deepens your trust in Him, allowing you to walk forward with confidence even when the path ahead is uncertain. Discernment is not just about avoiding mistakes. It is about walking boldly in the assurance that you are aligned with His will. God sharpens your discernment to prepare you for the greater responsibilities He has for you. Whether it is leading others, making significant decisions, or stepping into a new season, discernment ensures that you are equipped to navigate the complexities of life with wisdom and grace. It becomes a tool you carry with you, one that shapes every aspect of your journey. The solitude you experience is not a punishment. It is a gift. This refinement process may not always feel comfortable. It can be challenging to confront areas where your discernment has fallen short, or to make changes based on what God reveals. But as you lean into this process, you begin to understand that discernment is a reflection of His love for you. He sharpens your vision, not to burden you, but to protect you. Not to limit you, but to free you to walk fully in His purpose. This season of solitude becomes a sacred time of preparation, ensuring that when you step into the next chapter of your life, you do so with clarity, confidence, and an unwavering sense of His direction. And As you continue in this season of solitude, it is essential to understand that this period is also about strengthening your faith. God uses times of isolation not to abandon you, but to deepen your trust in Him. When there are no distractions, no immediate answers, and no one else to lean on, it forces you to look inward and upward. You are compelled to draw closer to God, to rely solely on His promises, and to trust in His unseen work. This strengthening of faith is the foundation that will carry you through the challenges ahead. In moments of solitude, your faith is tested, refined, and ultimately deepened. When everything around you seems uncertain and the path ahead is unclear, God invites you to lean not on your own understanding, but to trust His perfect plan for your life. These periods of uncertainty challenge you to believe in His goodness even when circumstances are difficult, to hold on to His promises even when they seem far off, and to trust that He is working even when you cannot see the evidence of His work. Solitude creates the space for God to prove Himself faithful. When no one else can intervene, God reveals Himself as your provider, your protector, and your source of strength. In these quiet moments, you may discover that God is closer than you ever realized. His presence is felt in the stillness. When you have no one else to turn to, He is there, reminding you that He has never left you, nor will He ever forsake you. This deepens your trust in Him, helping you to see that even in the absence of external support, His presence is enough. In a world that often pushes us to rely on self-sufficiency, solitude is a reminder that we are not meant to do life alone. We are not called to carry the weight of the world on our own shoulders. God uses this time to strengthen your dependence on Him. It's a process of learning to trust His timing and His ways, even when they do not align with your own desires or expectations. During this time, He removes self-reliance and teaches you how to lean on His strength. Moreover, as your faith is strengthened, you also begin to see that God is building your endurance. It's easy to have faith when things are going well, when everything is falling into place, and when answers come quickly, but true faith is refined in the fire of difficulty and silence. When you face challenges, delays, and struggles, you learn to hold fast to God's promises, knowing that He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. In the absence of immediate results, your faith grows deeper and your resolve strengthens. God is also using this time to teach you to believe in His unseen work. It is in solitude that you learn that God's silence is not His absence. Just because you cannot see the hand of God moving does not mean He is not at work. Faith is believing in the unseen, trusting in His promises, even when they have not yet manifested. God is not yet manifested. There is no way you cannot manifest it. It's in these moments that you develop a deep conviction that God is always at work behind the scenes, shaping the circumstances of your life in alignment with His perfect will. This strengthening of faith also helps you to build spiritual resilience. Life will always have its ups and downs, but the time spent in solitude help you to develop the spiritual muscle needed to endure. When challenges arise, you will not be shaken because your faith has been anchored in the unchanging nature of God. Your trust is no longer in the temporary circumstances, but in the eternal promises of a faithful God. Additionally, as your faith grows, so does your ability to influence others. God does not strengthen your faith just for your benefit. He does so that you can be a testimony to others. When you emerge from this season of solitude, your story of trust, perseverance, and faith in God will serve as a beacon of hope to those who are struggling with their own doubts and challenges. You become a living testimony of God's faithfulness, and your faith serves as a model for others to follow. Through solitude, God teaches you that faith is not just a feeling but a decision. It is a daily choice to trust in his character, to believe in his promises, and to stand firm on his word. This season is not about waiting passively, but about actively building a relationship with him that will sustain you through all of life's trials. As you embrace this time, you learn that your faith is a muscle that grows stronger with every challenge you face, every prayer you pray, and every step you take in trust. In this way, solitude becomes the training ground for a faith that is resilient, unshakable, and deeply rooted in God. It's a process of growth that you might not fully understand in the moment, but as you look back, you will realize that it was in those quiet, solitary times that your faith was made unbreakable. Through the silence, God builds a faith in you that will carry you through any storm, any trial, and any challenge that lies ahead. In addition to everything else, this season of solitude becomes a vital moment for God to shape your purpose and align it more clearly with his will. When we are surrounded by the noise and distractions of everyday life, it can become easy to lose sight of why we are here, what we are meant to do, and where we are meant to go. But when God brings you into a place of aloneness, he invites you to rediscover your purpose, to reconnect with the very reason he created you. The world may push you in many directions, telling you to seek success, fame, approval, or wealth, but in solitude, God helps you refocus on what truly matters, on the unique calling he has placed on your life. This time apart from the distractions allows you to take a step back, to hear his voice with greater clarity, and to reflect on the desires he has placed in your heart. In the stillness, he reveals to you the fullness of your purpose, what you were born to do, what your contribution to this world should be, and how you can align your life with the greater work he is doing in the earth. Sometimes the reason we feel lost or uncertain about our purpose is because we are looking in the wrong places for fulfillment. We chase after external achievements or the approval of others, and while these may provide temporary satisfaction, they never bring lasting peace or a deep sense of fulfillment. In solitude, God strips away these distractions and reorients your focus back to his plan for your life. You begin to realize that your true purpose is not tied to what the world defines as success, but to what God has set before you. God's desire for you to be alone is not to isolate you from his people or from meaningful connections, but to give you the opportunity to hear him more clearly and refine your understanding of who you are in his eyes. He wants you to break free from the pressures of comparison and to see your value in light of his design for you. The process of solitude is a time for deep reflection, for re-examining your passions, your skills, and the things that truly matter to you. It is a time to ask God, what do you want me to do with my life? What is the purpose behind my experiences, my gifts, and my desires? During this time, God often uses his word to speak directly to your purpose. As you read and meditate on scripture, the Holy Spirit begins to breathe new understanding into passages that speak to the depths of your calling. You may find that a verse that once seemed insignificant now resonates deeply with your spirit. This is God's way of revealing the direction he wants you to go. And it often happens when you're not distracted by the noise of daily life. When you open yourself up to his presence in solitude, he gives you the clarity and courage to step into your purpose with conviction. This season also serves to prepare you for the work ahead. It's one thing to know your purpose, but it's another to be prepared to walk in it. God uses solitude as a preparation ground, equipping you with the tools, wisdom, and strength you need for what is to come. In these quiet moments, he builds your character, tests your resolve, and molds you into the person who is ready to carry out his will in the world. You may not fully understand all that he is doing, but trust that in these moments, He is preparing you for the greater work that he has for you. Nah. God is not only preparing your purpose in these times of solitude, he is also preparing the world around you. He knows the people, the circumstances, and the opportunities that lie ahead. And he uses solitude to position you perfectly for those moments. There is a divine timing to the unfolding of your purpose. And solitude helps align you with that timing. Just as a farmer does not plant seeds and expect immediate fruit, God allows his work in your life to take time. You may feel that nothing is happening, but God is quietly orchestrating the events of your life, positioning you for the moment when everything will fall into place, when they are all lined and ready for it to be revealed. Another crucial aspect of purpose in solitude is the development of a deep reliance on God. When you are isolated, it becomes clear that you are not capable of fulfilling your purpose in your own strength. God is calling you to recognize that his power is made perfect in your weakness. As you submit to him in solitude, he teaches you to lean on his strength, to trust his leading, and to surrender your plans to his will. This is where true purpose is born. Not from self-sufficiency, but from complete dependence on God. Moreover, solitude gives you the opportunity to reflect on your past experiences and how they have shaped your purpose. Many of us are often reluctant to revisit painful memories, but in solitude, God brings healing to those areas of our lives that were once broken. He transforms the hurt into wisdom and the struggles into strength. You begin to see how every experience, every trial, and every victory has led you to this moment, preparing you to walk in your purpose with greater understanding. The result of this purposeful solitude is a renewed sense of direction and meaning. When you emerge from this season, you are not the same person who entered it. You have a clearer understanding of your calling, a deeper sense of God's presence in your life, and a stronger resolve to fulfill the work he has set before you. Your purpose is no longer a distant, vague idea, but a living, breathing mission that drives every step you take. Let's delve into the profound concept of goodness and the challenges that come with it. Being good is often seen as a noble trait, a virtue that is universally admired. But we must examine what it truly means to be good in a world that often misunderstands the essence of goodness. The problem with being good arises when we confuse it with being passive or complacent. Goodness should not be equated with weakness. There's a misconception that being good means allowing others to take advantage of us, sacrificing our own needs and desires for the sake of pleasing others. This mindset can lead to a life of frustration and unfulfilled potential. True goodness is about strength of character, standing firm in your principles, and understanding your worth. It is about loving yourself enough to set boundaries and recognize that your life has purpose beyond mere niceness. Furthermore, being good can sometimes lead us to fear conflict. We might avoid speaking our truth or addressing uncomfortable situations because we don't want to hurt others' feelings or create discord. But let me remind you, avoiding conflict does not equate to goodness. In fact, addressing issues with honesty and integrity can be one of the most powerful acts of goodness. It creates an opportunity for growth, both for ourselves and for those around us. Let's also consider the impact of external expectations. Society often places labels on us, dictating what it means to be good, kind, or successful. When we strive to meet these expectations, we risk losing our authentic selves. Remember, you were created with unique gifts and a purpose that is distinctly yours. Being good in the eyes of others may lead you astray from the path you were meant to walk. We must also confront the notion of goodness as a currency for approval. Some people do good deeds expecting recognition or validation in return. This transactional view of goodness can lead to disappointment when we don't receive the accolades we believe we deserve. True goodness is selfless. It does not seek reward. It flows from a deep understanding of our shared humanity. It's about uplifting others without needing anything in return. Moreover, there's a danger in becoming overly comfortable with the status quo. The world is rife with injustices and challenges, and simply being good may lead us to overlook the responsibility we have to create change. Being good should inspire us to act, to advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves. It should ignite a fire within us to challenge injustice, to confront the things that are not right in our communities, and to stand up for what is just. In this journey of life, it's essential to remember that being good doesn't mean we won't face challenges. It doesn't mean we will always be liked or understood. In fact, sometimes being good will require us to make hard decisions that may not be popular. But in those moments of decision, we must anchor ourselves in our values and principles, not swayed by the tides of public opinion. As we reflect on the problem with being good, let's strive for a deeper understanding of what it means to embody true goodness. It is an active choice, a commitment to living authentically, to seeking justice, and to nurturing our own growth alongside that of others. Let us be good, not just in our actions, but in our hearts, bold, strong, and unwavering in our pursuit of a better world. Let's delve deeper into the first point regarding the misunderstanding of goodness. In our society, we often glorify the concept of being good, equating it with being kind, compliant, and agreeable. This perception, however, can be misleading. When we conflate goodness with weakness, we risk diluting the true essence of what it means to be good. Many individuals find themselves trapped in a cycle of pleasing others, believing that by always saying yes and conforming to the expectations of those around them, they are embodying goodness. This behavior can lead to resentment and frustration. It's essential to recognize that being good is not about sacrificing your own needs or desires. It's not about allowing others to walk all over you or ignoring your own boundaries in the name of kindness. True goodness requires strength and courage. It means standing up for what you believe in, even when it's unpopular. It means having the confidence to say no when necessary and making decisions that are in alignment with your values, even if they may upset someone else. This kind of goodness does not shy away from confrontation. Rather, it embraces it as a vital part of growth and development. When we define goodness solely through the lens of being agreeable, we inadvertently undermine our own potential. We become fearful of expressing our thoughts and feelings, worried that doing so might tarnish our image as the good one. In this way, we stifle our own voices, leading to a life that feels inauthentic and unsatisfying. By challenging the misconception that being good is synonymous with passivity, we can reclaim our power. We begin to understand that true goodness is a dynamic force that encourages us to be authentic and to advocate for ourselves and others. It fosters resilience and courage, allowing us to navigate the complexities of life with integrity. As we embrace this deeper understanding of goodness, we can foster a richer, more meaningful existence that uplifts not only ourselves, but also those around us. Let's explore the concept of strength of character as it relates to true goodness. At its core, true goodness is not about being agreeable or soft. It embodies a deep and unwavering strength of character. It is about having the courage to uphold your values and principles, even when faced with adversity or pressure from those around you. This kind of strength is not always visible. It often manifests in quiet resolve and steadfastness. In a world that frequently challenges our beliefs, it's vital to cultivate an inner strength that allows us to stand firm in our convictions. This means understanding who we are and what we stand for, regardless of external opinions or expectations. When we possess this strength, we become unshakable, grounded in our identity and purpose. We recognize that true goodness involves being authentic and genuine, rather than merely conforming to what others think we should be. Moreover, having strength of character means being willing to take responsibility for our actions and decisions. It requires us to hold ourselves accountable and to act with integrity, even when it is difficult or inconvenient. This is the essence of moral courage. It's about making choices that align with our principles, even if those choices put us at odds with others. In relationships, strength of character translates into the ability to set healthy boundaries. It means having the courage to communicate our needs and desires clearly and to stand firm when those boundaries are challenged. This is not only an act of self-respect, but also an act of kindness towards others, as it establishes a foundation of honesty and transparency. True goodness and strength of character allow us to become advocates for others. When we are grounded in our principles, we are empowered to stand up for those who may not have a voice. This is where our goodness can create ripples of change in the world. When we embody strength of character, we inspire those around us to do the same, fostering a culture of resilience and empowerment. As we cultivate this strength within ourselves, we realize that being good is not about being passive. It's about actively engaging with the world around us. It's about having the strength to challenge injustices, to speak out against wrongdoing, and to lead by example. This is the true essence of goodness, one that empowers us to live fully, authentically, and with purpose. Now, let's delve into the relationship between being good and the fear of conflict. In many instances, people equate goodness with harmony, believing that to be good is to avoid confrontation at all costs. This mindset leads to a cycle of avoidance where we tiptoe around difficult issues, suppress our true feelings, and prioritize the comfort of others over our own honesty. While it's commendable to seek peace, we must understand that genuine goodness does not shy away from conflict. Rather, it embraces it as an opportunity for growth and understanding. When we avoid conflict, we often compromise our integrity. We may find ourselves agreeing with others, even when we have significant reservations, just to keep the peace. In doing so, we deny our own perspectives and stifle our voices. This suppression can lead to resentment as our unspoken thoughts and feelings accumulate over time. It's essential to recognize that true goodness involves expressing our truth and addressing issues head-on, rather than sweeping them under the rug. Addressing conflict does not mean being confrontational or aggressive. It means approaching difficult conversations with a spirit of openness and a commitment to understanding. When we engage in honest dialogue, we create an opportunity for connection and resolution. This is where true growth occurs, not just for ourselves, but for others as well. By confronting issues directly, we encourage those around us to also be honest, fostering an environment where everyone feels safe to express their thoughts and feelings. Embracing conflict can lead to deeper relationships. When we navigate tough conversations, we build trust and intimacy with others. People appreciate authenticity. They recognize when someone is willing to be vulnerable and honest, even when it's uncomfortable. This willingness to face conflict head-on reflects strength and integrity, qualities that are at the heart of true goodness. Conflict can also serve as a catalyst for change. Many of the world's greatest movements for justice and equality have arisen from individuals who were unafraid to confront the status quo. They understood that to be good means challenging injustices and speaking out against wrongdoing, even in the face of opposition. By embracing conflict as a necessary part of life, we become advocates for change and empower others to do the same. In this light, we see that true goodness requires us to step out of our comfort zones. It calls us to confront not only the conflicts we face, but also the fears that hold us back. It encourages us to redefine our relationship with conflict, not as something to be avoided, but as a powerful tool for growth, connection, and transformation. Embracing this perspective allows us to live more fully and authentically, contributing to a world that values truth and integrity above mere superficial harmony. Society often imposes a set of standards that dictate what it means to be a good person. We are bombarded with messages about how we should act, how we should feel, and even how we should think. These societal labels can distort our understanding of our true selves and lead us to mold our behavior to fit someone else's definition of goodness. When we conform to these expectations, we risk losing our authenticity and becoming mere shadows of ourselves. The pressure to meet these external standards can be overwhelming. We may find ourselves performing acts of goodness not out of genuine intention, but rather to gain approval, acceptance, or recognition from others. This transactional approach to goodness can lead to a superficial understanding of our own values. We begin to operate under the belief that our worth is contingent upon the validation we receive from those around us. This mindset creates a cycle of dependency where our sense of self becomes tied to external perceptions, leading us to constantly seek approval instead of grounding ourselves in our own beliefs and values. True goodness emerges when we cultivate a deep understanding of who we are, independent of societal labels. It requires introspection and a willingness to challenge the narratives we've been taught. By taking the time to reflect on our values, passions, and beliefs, we can define goodness on our own terms. This journey of self-discovery is essential for reclaiming our power and living authentically. When we align our actions with our true selves, we become more resilient to external pressures and are better equipped to stand firm in our principles. Moreover, rejecting external expectations frees us to embrace our uniqueness. Each of us is created with distinct gifts and a purpose that is ours alone. When we try to fit into a mold defined by society, we stifle our creativity and potential. True goodness encourages us to celebrate our individuality and to express ourselves fully. It empowers us to pursue our passions and to contribute to the world in ways that resonate with our authentic selves. As we navigate life, we may encounter individuals who challenge our understanding of goodness, asking us to conform to their views. It's essential to remain vigilant and discerning. Just because something is widely accepted does not mean it is right or aligned with our values. By holding true to our beliefs and remaining steadfast in our commitment to authenticity, we can inspire others to do the same. In embracing our individuality, we also create space for others to be authentic. When we model true goodness rooted in self-awareness and authenticity, we encourage those around us to reflect on their values and beliefs. This creates a ripple effect, fostering a culture of acceptance and genuine connection, rather than one defined by superficial expectations. Understanding goodness beyond societal labels allows us to live fully and authentically. It empowers us to act with integrity and compassion while remaining true to ourselves. As we embrace this deeper understanding of goodness, we cultivate a life that is meaningful, impactful, and aligned with our unique purpose. True goodness flows from a place of genuine compassion and empathy, not from a desire for personal gain or recognition. In a world that often prioritizes individual success and self-interest, it can be easy to adopt a transactional mindset when it comes to acts of kindness. Many people perform good deeds with the expectation of receiving something in return, whether that be validation, recognition, or even emotional satisfaction. This approach can ultimately undermine the authenticity of our actions and lead to disappointment when the expected reciprocation does not materialize. Selfless goodness, on the other hand, is rooted in the pure intention to uplift others without any strings attached. It requires us to act from a place of love and understanding, seeking to make a positive impact in the lives of those around us. When we engage in acts of goodness for the sake of the act itself, without the expectation of reward, we cultivate a deeper sense of connection with others and contribute to a more compassionate world. This type of goodness reflects a profound understanding that our actions have the power to influence others' lives in meaningful ways. Moreover, selflessness invites us to expand our perspective. It encourages us to look beyond our own needs and desires, fostering empathy and understanding for the struggles and challenges faced by others. When we genuinely care about the well-being of those around us, we become more attuned to their needs. This awareness allows us to respond in ways that truly benefit others, creating a cycle of positivity and kindness that enriches our communities. In practicing selfless goodness, we also come to understand the value of service. Acts of service, whether large or small, can profoundly impact those in need. It could be as simple as lending a listening ear to a friend going through a tough time, or volunteering in our communities to support those who are less fortunate. Each act of service strengthens the fabric of our society, reminding us that we are interconnected and that our well-being is intertwined with the well-being of others. Additionally, selfless goodness can be a source of strength during difficult times. When we focus on helping others, we often find solace and purpose in our own lives. This outward focus can shift our perspective and help alleviate feelings of despair or isolation. It serves as a reminder that even in our struggles, we can make a difference in the lives of others, reinforcing the idea that we are not alone in our challenges. Furthermore, this selfless approach fosters a sense of gratitude within us. When we witness the positive impact of our actions on others, we develop a deeper appreciation for the human experience and the interconnectedness of our lives. This gratitude enriches our lives, allowing us to cultivate a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. As we embody selfless goodness, we become beacons of hope and inspiration for those around us. Our actions encourage others to reflect on their own motivations and to consider how they can contribute positively to the lives of others. In this way, selfless goodness has the power to create a ripple effect, inspiring a collective movement toward kindness, compassion, and empathy in our communities. Selfless goodness transforms our understanding of what it means to be a good person. It shifts the focus from personal gain to the genuine desire to uplift and support others. This transformation empowers us to live with intention, purpose, and authenticity, fostering a world where kindness prevails and genuine connections are forged. Many individuals equate being good with being self-sacrificing, often at the expense of their own well-being. They may feel pressured to say yes to every request or to be available for others at all times, believing that this is what goodness requires. However, this approach can lead to burnout, resentment, and ultimately compromise their ability to genuinely help others. Establishing and maintaining healthy personal boundaries is essential for sustaining true goodness in our lives. Setting boundaries does not mean that we are being unkind or selfish. Rather, it reflects a deep respect for ourselves and our own needs. It is a way of acknowledging our limits and recognizing that we cannot pour from an empty cup. When we take the time to recharge and care for our own physical, emotional, and mental health, we are better equipped to show up for others in meaningful ways. This self-care is not a luxury, it is a necessity that allows us to give authentically without depleting ourselves. Furthermore, personal boundaries allow us to create a sense of safety in our relationships. They establish clear guidelines for how we wish to be treated and what we are willing to accept. This clarity fosters mutual respect as it invites others to engage with us in a way that honors our needs and values. When we communicate our boundaries effectively, we create an environment where open and honest dialogue can flourish. This not only enhances our relationships, but also strengthens our ability to navigate conflicts with grace and integrity. Boundaries also empower us to prioritize our time and energy. In a world filled with demands and distractions, it's easy to become overwhelmed. By setting clear limits, we take control of our schedules and commitments, allowing us to focus on what truly matters to us. This intentionality enables us to invest our time and resources into relationships and activities that align with our values rather than spreading ourselves too thin. Moreover, healthy boundaries cultivate a culture of accountability. When we assert our needs and limits, we encourage others to do the same. This mutual respect fosters a deeper understanding of each other's perspectives, allowing for more genuine connections. It helps create relationships based on honesty and transparency, where individuals feel empowered to express their thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment. In the context of goodness, maintaining boundaries also means recognizing when to step back from toxic or unhealthy dynamics. It requires us to evaluate the relationships in our lives and to determine whether they are nurturing or draining. Sometimes being good means making difficult decisions, such as distancing ourselves from individuals who do not respect our boundaries or who consistently bring negativity into our lives. This is not an act of malice, rather it is a form of self-preservation that ultimately allows us to remain true to our authentic selves. By cultivating personal boundaries, we also model healthy behavior for others. When we show that it is acceptable to prioritize our own needs, we create a space where those around us can feel empowered to do the same. This sets a powerful example of self-respect and self-care, fostering a community that values well-being for all. In essence, the practice of setting and maintaining personal boundaries is a crucial component of true goodness. It enables us to care for ourselves while engaging meaningfully with others. By honoring our own needs, we can give from a place of abundance, fostering connections that are genuine, respectful, and nurturing. Ultimately, healthy boundaries not only protect our well-being, but also enhance our capacity to contribute positively to the lives of those around us. True goodness is deeply rooted in our ability to be genuine and honest with ourselves and with others. In a world that often encourages conformity and performance, it can be tempting to adopt a facade, presenting an image of goodness that aligns with societal expectations rather than reflecting our true selves. This dissonance can lead to feelings of emptiness and disconnection, ultimately undermining our efforts to be genuinely good. Authenticity requires us to embrace our individuality and to acknowledge our unique qualities, strengths, and even our flaws. When we allow ourselves to be fully seen imperfections and all, we create a space where others feel safe to do the same. This mutual vulnerability fosters deeper connections and enriches our relationships. It reminds us that we are all human, struggling and striving to navigate life in our own ways. By being authentic, we invite others to be honest about their own journeys, creating an environment where true goodness can thrive. Moreover, authenticity empowers us to align our actions with our values. When we are true to ourselves, our deeds naturally reflect our beliefs and principles. This alignment enhances the impact of our good deeds as they stem from a place of genuine intent rather than obligation or expectation. When our actions are a true expression of who we are, they resonate with others in a more profound way. People are drawn to authenticity. They can sense when someone is being genuine, and this creates a ripple effect that inspires those around us to embrace their true selves. In the quest for goodness, we must also recognize that authenticity involves acknowledging our emotions and experiences. Often we may feel pressured to present a polished version of ourselves, especially in public or social situations. However, denying our true feelings can lead to internal conflict and discontent. By allowing ourselves to express our emotions, whether it be joy, sadness, frustration, or hope, we honor our own experiences and contribute to a culture of honesty. This practice not only liberates us, but also encourages others to express their true feelings, paving the way for more authentic and meaningful interactions. When we are rooted in our truth, we can advocate for what we believe is right without fear of judgment or rejection. This courage to be ourselves, especially in challenging situations, reflects true strength and integrity. It allows us to engage in difficult conversations and to confront injustices with conviction, knowing that we are being true to our principles. In embracing authenticity, we also develop a deeper sense of self-acceptance. We begin to appreciate our own worth beyond the validation of others. This self-acceptance frees us from the burdens of comparison and judgment, allowing us to focus on our personal growth and contributions. When we value ourselves for who we are, we become more resilient to external pressures and more compassionate toward others. Ultimately, the journey toward authentic goodness is one of self-discovery and self-acceptance. It invites us to peel back the layers of expectation and conformity to reveal the core of our being. As we embrace our true selves and act from that place, we cultivate an atmosphere of authenticity in our relationships and communities. This fosters a deeper understanding of what it means to be good, not merely as a set of behaviors to adhere to, but as a profound expression of our humanity. By living authentically, we contribute to a world that celebrates diversity and encourages individuals to shine in their own unique ways. Discernment is the ability to judge well, to distinguish between what is truly good and what merely appears good on the surface. In our quest to be good, it is essential to develop a keen sense of discernment to navigate the complexities of our relationships and the challenges of our environment. This ability helps us to avoid falling into the traps of superficiality and misguided intentions, allowing us to engage in meaningful actions that truly uplift ourselves and others. In a world filled with noise and competing messages, discernment becomes our guiding light. It allows us to sift through the myriad of influences we encounter daily, from the media we consume to the advice we receive from friends and family. Not every act labeled as good aligns with our values or serves our higher purpose. By honing our discernment, we can make informed choices that reflect our true intentions and priorities rather than simply responding to external pressures or societal norms. Discernment also empowers us to recognize when our kindness may be misinterpreted or exploited. In our desire to be good, we may encounter individuals who manipulate our generosity for their own gain. This is where discernment becomes crucial. It helps us to differentiate between those who genuinely need our support and those who may be taking advantage of our goodwill. It's important to approach our acts of kindness with wisdom and awareness, ensuring that we are truly benefiting others rather than enabling harmful behaviors. Furthermore, discernment invites us to evaluate the impact of our actions. Goodness should not be a one-size-fits-all approach. What works in one context may not be appropriate in another. By practicing discernment, we can assess the needs of those around us and tailor our responses accordingly. This consideration fosters a deeper connection as it shows that we are attuned to the unique circumstances of others rather than offering blanket solutions that may not address the heart of the issue. In the pursuit of goodness, we must also discern between intentions and actions. While someone may intend to do good, their actions might not yield positive outcomes. Discernment allows us to look beyond the surface and evaluate the actual effects of our deeds. It challenges us to reflect on whether our actions are truly contributing to the greater good, or if they are simply an exercise in virtue signaling. This deeper evaluation cultivates accountability and encourages us to continuously strive for improvement in our efforts to make a difference. Not everyone we encounter will have our best interests at heart. By exercising discernment, we can identify the people who genuinely support and uplift us, as well as those who may drain our energy or distract us from our purpose. This awareness allows us to surround ourselves with positive influences and to create a community that fosters growth and encourages us to be the best versions of ourselves. Discernment is a lifelong practice that requires humility and self-reflection. It is not a skill that we develop overnight. It requires us to be open to learning and growth. We must be willing to question our assumptions, challenge our beliefs, and seek wisdom from various sources. This journey of discernment invites us to remain curious and engaged, constantly expanding our understanding of what it means to be truly good. Ultimately, the practice of discernment enriches our lives and enhances our capacity for genuine goodness. It transforms our approach from a reactive mindset to a proactive one, where we make conscious choices that align with our values and purpose. By cultivating discernment, we not only empower ourselves to act with intention, but we also inspire those around us to embrace a deeper understanding of what it means to live a life of authenticity and integrity. Through this journey, we can foster a world where goodness is not just a label, but a profound expression of our humanity. Purpose provides direction and meaning to our lives, guiding our actions and shaping our interactions with others. When we understand our purpose, we can engage in goodness that is not merely reactive or performative, but rather intentional and impactful. This clarity of purpose empowers us to navigate the complexities of life with confidence and conviction. Having a well-defined purpose helps us to align our actions with our core values. It encourages us to ask critical questions. What do I stand for? What change do I want to see in the world? When our goodness is rooted in a deep sense of purpose, it becomes a powerful force for transformation. We are more likely to invest our time and energy into initiatives that resonate with our passions and that we believe will create meaningful change. This alignment fuels our motivation and reinforces our commitment to the cause. Moreover, a clear sense of purpose acts as a compass during challenging times. Life will inevitably present us with obstacles, and our initial reactions may be influenced by fear, doubt, or external expectations. However, when we are anchored in our purpose, we can respond to these challenges with resilience and determination. Purpose helps us to maintain perspective, reminding us of the larger vision we are working towards. This clarity can be incredibly empowering, as it enables us to rise above temporary setbacks and to stay focused on our goals. In addition, purpose encourages us to cultivate authentic connections with others. When we share our purpose with those around us, we create a bond that goes beyond superficial interactions. We invite collaboration, dialogue, and shared experiences, fostering a sense of community that is grounded in mutual understanding and respect. This collective sense of purpose amplifies our efforts as we work together toward common goals, inspiring one another to push boundaries and strive for excellence. Furthermore, understanding our purpose allows us to prioritize our actions effectively. In a world filled with demands and distractions, it can be easy to become overwhelmed and to lose sight of what truly matters. When we are clear about our purpose, we can discern between what is essential and what is extraneous. This intentionality enables us to invest our resources, time, energy, and talents into activities that align with our purpose, rather than spreading ourselves too thin or engaging in pursuits that do not serve our mission. Purpose also drives us to seek continuous growth and development. When we are aligned with our purpose, we are naturally inclined to seek knowledge, skills, and experiences that enhance our ability to fulfill that purpose. This growth mindset encourages us to embrace challenges as opportunities for learning and to remain open to new perspectives. As we evolve, we become more equipped to contribute positively to the world, enriching our capacity for goodness. When we act in alignment with our purpose, we are not merely performing for approval or recognition, we are living out our truth. This authenticity resonates with others, inspiring them to connect with us on a deeper level. People are drawn to genuine expressions of goodness, and this creates a ripple effect that encourages others to explore their own purpose and to engage in meaningful actions. In the context of goodness, understanding our purpose also compels us to engage in acts of service that reflect our values. It invites us to identify the needs within our communities and to take action that addresses those needs. This proactive approach transforms goodness from a passive concept into an active commitment to make a difference in the lives of others. Ultimately, embracing purpose as a foundation for our goodness transforms our lives and the lives of those around us. It provides clarity and direction, enabling us to navigate challenges with resilience and to foster meaningful connections with others. By grounding our actions in a clear sense of purpose, we not only enhance our capacity for goodness, but also inspire a collective movement toward positive change. Through this journey, we create a world where our contributions are not only impactful, but also deeply aligned with the essence of who we are. Community is more than just a collection of individuals. It is a vital network that provides support, encouragement, and accountability as we navigate our path toward living authentically and doing good. In our efforts to embody true goodness, we must recognize that we are not alone in this journey. We are part of a larger tapestry of humanity, and our connections to others can significantly enhance our impact and effectiveness. Being part of a community allows us to share our experiences, insights, and challenges, fostering a sense of belonging and solidarity. When we engage with others who share similar values and aspirations, we create a supportive environment that nurtures our growth. This shared space is essential for the development of empathy, understanding, and compassion. As we connect with others, we not only gain diverse perspectives, but also learn from their journeys, which can inspire and motivate us to continue striving for goodness. Moreover, community cultivates a culture of accountability. When we surround ourselves with individuals who are committed to personal growth and positive change, we naturally hold one another accountable for our actions. This accountability encourages us to stay true to our values and to remain committed to our purpose. In moments of doubt or temptation to stray from our intentions, the support of our community can serve as a reminder of our commitments and aspirations. This collective accountability strengthens our resolve to pursue goodness in a meaningful way. Additionally, community empowers us to amplify our efforts. When we come together with a shared vision for goodness, we can combine our resources, talents, and energies to create a greater impact. The synergy generated by collective action can lead to transformative initiatives that address the needs of our communities more effectively than any individual effort could. By working together, we can leverage our strengths, share our skills, and inspire one another to dream bigger and act bolder. Furthermore, being part of a community allows us to cultivate diversity and inclusivity. A rich tapestry of backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives enhances our understanding of the world and the challenges faced by others. This diversity is essential in our pursuit of goodness, as it helps us to recognize the nuances of different situations and to approach them with sensitivity and care. When we listen to and learn from each other, we can better serve the needs of our communities and create solutions that are equitable and just. Community also provides us with a platform for collaboration and innovation. When we come together, we can brainstorm ideas, share knowledge, and engage in constructive dialogue. This collaborative spirit fosters creativity and encourages us to think outside the box as we seek to address social issues and promote positive change. The solutions we generate as a community are often more effective and sustainable than those developed in isolation, as they reflect a deeper understanding of the complexities of human experience. The emotional support offered by community is invaluable. Life can be challenging, and there are times when we may feel overwhelmed or discouraged. In these moments, the encouragement and love of a supportive community can lift our spirits and remind us of our inherent worth and potential. This emotional safety net enables us to take risks, to be vulnerable, and to embrace the journey of growth without fear of judgment. Community allows us to celebrate our successes together. When we achieve milestones or make progress in our efforts to do good, it is essential to acknowledge and celebrate these moments with others. Sharing our victories fosters a sense of collective joy and reinforces our commitment to continue striving for goodness. It reminds us that we are all part of a larger mission and that every small step contributes to the greater whole. The importance of community in our quest for goodness cannot be overstated. It enhances our capacity to act, supports our growth, and fosters a culture of collaboration and empathy. By engaging with others, we not only enrich our own journeys, but also contribute to the collective movement toward positive change. Together, we can create a world where goodness is not an isolated endeavor, but a shared mission that uplifts and transforms lives. Through our connections, we can amplify our impact and inspire one another to rise to our highest potential, embodying the true essence of what it means to be good. In conclusion, the journey toward embodying true goodness is a multifaceted endeavor that requires us to look beyond surface-level intentions. It calls for self-reflection, discernment, and a profound understanding of our purpose. As we navigate this path, we must recognize that being good is not simply about adhering to societal norms or seeking validation. It is about living authentically and intentionally, driven by a deep-seated desire to uplift ourselves and others. Embracing the complexities of goodness means acknowledging the importance of discernment, which allows us to make informed choices that align with our values and enhance our impact. It also requires us to cultivate a clear sense of purpose that guides our actions and fosters resilience in the face of challenges. Furthermore, we must actively engage with our communities, recognizing that we are not alone in this pursuit. Together, we can amplify our efforts, celebrate our successes, and support one another in our growth. As we strive to be genuinely good, let us remember that our actions ripple outward, influencing those around us and inspiring a collective movement toward positive change. By prioritizing authenticity, accountability, and connection, we can create a world where goodness is not just a concept, but a lived reality, a reality where our contributions are meaningful, our relationships are enriching, and our impact is lasting. Let us commit ourselves to this journey, embracing the challenges and celebrating the victories as we work together to embody the true essence of goodness in our lives and the lives of others.